To other depot workers at TransLink's Richmond Transit Center, it was just a typical ordinary Saturday morning bookout. But for a select few bus spotters, it was the beginning of a 5-star joyride. Thanks to their arduous efforts in planning, 5 bus spotters, along with others on an invite-only list, pulled together their resources and did a charter of a 2001 Orion V Suburban equipped with the fan-favorite Detroit Diesel Series 50 engine. The end was near for both the Orion Vs and the Series 50 engines as the final waves of newer 2021 built Alexander Dennis Enviro 500 buses began to enter service. For this 1,000 subscriber special, we take a final spin on the 2001 Orion V as we visit the many places they have served for the past 21 years. The first 76 Orion Vs were purchased at a cost of $29 million back in 2000. For some time beforehand, the province had been seeking to increase the quality of the suburban bus services under a strategic transportation plan to connect regional town centers. Aside from their signature role in the suburban fleet, a mass fleet reorganization involving the opening of the Richmond Transit Center facilitated their entry into the Coast Mountain fleet. This new depot would be, and still is, in charge of operations of all suburban routes out of Richmond. Eventually, the last of the old GM New Look fishbowls and Flyer D900 models would become victims to the large wave of buses delivered between 1995 and 2001. An expansion of 9 Orion 5 units, with the updated Cummins ISL engines, would enter the fleet in 2007-2008, but all in all, it was the novelty of the high back seating and long air-conditioned ride along Highway 99 that made these buses fan favorites. The organizers prepared the bus, and after a quick 10 AM pickup, it was off the bat to the first destination. Have a look on screen as we travel between the various destinations. Broad Station was for the longest time the terminal for the Richmond suburban services. Dunsmuir at Thurlow once thrived with suburban buses out to Surrey, Delta, Richmond, Poco, and North Van. On the old 351, it was well over an hour and a half to get all the way to Crescent Beach. Once the Canada Line was built between Vancouver and Richmond, all South Surrey and South Delta services were truncated to terminate at Bridgeport Station. The last day for Richmond suburban services in the downtown area was September 4, 2009.
Run to Costco to get a hot dog. Yeah, vehicle more distinct now. Or like, hey, look, an actual run to Costco to get a hot dog. Yeah, vehicle more distinct now. Or like, hey, look, an actual
our ticket at college, yes, you have to take these. You know how new they are, right? Yeah. They're already getting new turbos and stuff now because of blow-by already.
Oh, wow. Seriously?
Well, that's because of the whole aperture system, right?
bring them to Richmond.
It's way better than the second gen. Their gen HEVs. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I would say that. We're gone though. They're like, look at the garage, like the electric fans. And they're just like.
The 555 once terminated at Braid Station from its inception in 2012 until the new HOV off-ramps to Government Street were opened in 2015. Additional details about the 555 will be discussed later.
Well, then we did. We're not going back.
I mean, they can just take the train and meet us at Little.
Yeah, just take the train. Then we'll have to 3155. Oh yeah. Commercial. Sorry. It's just not working. I'm not sure, but the issue is they're not really.
Oh baby.
181 shitty, because if they convert it to this, it'd be way better to work on.
They got rid of like that designation.
Yeah. Oh.
It's a tripper, so it's just like I understand why they do it, but at the same time,
There's actually second channel 340 this morning, so
really.
yeah.
9697.
A little bit okay, but it's Saturday, who knows?
Oh, right. No, that's not okay.
That's it's Saturday.
Yeah, because there's only like just two of them out there.
Exactly. There's a
They
decker.
kind of need a decker.
Yeah, they have a decker on it already, and they don't have a second gen. So it's like, what do you do?
Half an hour for the next.
Hourly service.
Are you done? We're doing drop off 193.
Yeah. 190.
I missed the drop off.
I'm a dealer have here. Serious business. Serious business.
Very short.
Here at Coquitlam Station, we revisit the first days of the West Coast Express train bus. For a short time between 2003 and 2004, the Orions were a mainstay on the supplemental bus service connecting downtown Vancouver and Mission Station. Though having no washroom, the Orions were better equipped for accessibility on bike racks. The service was operated by the pilot unit 9201, which featured a distinct purple band. The feature was corrected after its refurbishment in June 2017, 6 months after train bus services were discontinued, and 13 years after the contract was turned over to a local tour bus operator. Orions also found their way onto local assignments in POCO. By nature, a large part of ridership in the Tri-Cities since 2016 has been either on the shuttle network or on the railways such as the Millennium Line and West Coast Express. These conditions allowed for Orions to be suitable as quote-unquote glorified community shuttle buses, and would often come out during peak hours on the 180, 183, 189, and 191 routes. But sometimes they would also find themselves on the busier SFU runs 143 and 145, a solution very much needed as aging articulated buses that would normally appear on these runs were pretty much being held together by tape and chewing gum.
Have it there.
The signature silver, yellow, and blue were a common sight in Langley by 2012. The new Portman Bridge opened for service that year, along with a new transit bus loop off the side of Highway 1 at 202 Street. The Highway 1 Express had been envisioned by the provincial government as a supporting project to the Portman Bridge replacement, but by its first year of operation, it became a staple in the regional transit network. At one point, peak departures reached 8 buses an hour as the park and ride became an integral piece in the development of Walnut Grove. By early 2020, Orion's service dwindled and gave way to double-deckers. Another main assignment for these buses was the Fraser Highway Express. The 503 was created off the 502 trips out to Aldergrove. The service featured express drop-off westbound and pick-up eastbound between Langley Center and Surrey Central Station. And I know what you're thinking. This was hugely ineffective. Eventually, they figured out that there were not many riders east of Langley Center. In fact, the majority of riders were in the Fleetwood area. The route was turned into a pseudo-rapid bus service in the hopes to convert it to a SkyTrain in the long-term future. By South Surrey Park and Ride, the rain had truly taken over as the bus was parked in the spare loading bay. Before the 503, Surrey's small Orion fleet was restricted to 3 and later 2 routes, the 301 Richmond Express, the 394 King George Express, and the 340 22nd Street Station. Service on the 340 only lasted for a short time in 2012, so really they were only found on the other 2 routes. In recent years, the 394 Express has taken on a bigger supplemental role along King George south of Newton. Orion sightings became rare by 2018 and eventually ceased by 2019, despite being transferred to Richmond that year.
No, just the southbound one.
Just southbound?
Yeah, so right, Bridgeport Gauge Road there, and then it dips on the right.
So how does that work? So I come up for this is a light.
The Crescent Beach Terminal was once the hallmark of the legendary 351 route to the rest of White Rock and eventually the cities of Richmond and Vancouver. As late as 2 in the morning, the distinct whine of the engine would echo into the night, adding to the eerie backdrop of the night sky. Or at least that's how youth camp participants at the adjacent Camp Alexandra would describe the buses departing at night. Personally, having volunteered at the nearby campgrounds twice, it was a spectacle being able to document the 351 while serving at the camp. September 2020 saw the end of regular Orion service at Crescent Beach, as the route was split in 2 at White Rock Center. This change was also the result of double-deckers entering service.
Oh yeah, I got a treat to Xander because he got me Starbucks last time. Right.
Oh, really? Listen close.
this first set of lights are these first lights are on doors out of it. Right. And then all set lights are usually dim. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
L lights out.
And yeah, and I
Literal L.
a literal L. Even during nighttime, I have that behind me.
Airport station 98. That one down there. We're going down there. I don't think an airport one of the stuff. I'll show you the sign real quick. I don't know if it still works anymore. Yeah, 98 B line / airport station. I have it right here. Here it is. 1167. Hard to say. It's like a B line station, maybe. It's just a shell of its former self. Oh, where are we going?
South Terminal Bed, we work way back.
Oh, you got any south ones? Let's just stop at BCIT.
It's like both Richmond and yeah. And I remember getting them. But they were nice on the because they were just kind of close.
Right. Well, I guess we did go to BCIT.
It was interesting. Anything else was way too like too obvious. Like it was just perfect. No, this one of course is okay.
Oh, I guess BCIT is one of our stops.
90 seconds.
I was like half asleep, so I didn't figure it out that it was you guys. I thought it was from my eyes. I heard the distinctive sound of the series.
Nearing the end of the charter, the bus was taken to Sea Island, where its assignment as the C92 and later 412 Sea Island South would often be a precursor to the usual suburban assignments out of Bridgeport Station. At this point, around 6 hours had passed, with time being of the essence. In other words, there was essentially no time to stop the bus for 30 minutes to get a meal. That said, the weather also helped a bit by clearing up. And what's a charter without a visit to Airport Station? Of the 13 suburban routes into downtown Vancouver, only 2 made a stop at Airport Station, the 491 One Road and the 496 Railway. Though neither of the signs could be pulled up, there was still a chance to revisit other routes on the once busy bus loop. This included exposures of the 98 Beeline sign. Orion's once made rare appearances on the signature Beeline route connecting downtown Vancouver and Richmond. On September 7, 2009, the suburban functions of Airport Station were transferred to Bridgeport Station and the Canada Line, and the terminus of the 100 route was relocated to Marpole Loop. The 98 Beeline would cease operation by the end of the service day on September 6, the same fate met by the 424 connecting Airport Station and the airport terminals, while the last Suburban runs left downtown Vancouver on the 4th of September of that year. After a total of 6 hours, that brings us back to Bridgeport Station. What a run it has been for what is arguably the comfiest bus type in the fleet. The privilege to be able to take the bus out and take it for a joyride around the region is paramount. Let alone just being able to attend is equally as paramount. At the time of posting, there are 9 remaining active Orions in the fleet, built in 2008 with newer Cummins ISL engines. None of the original Series 50 Orions remain, and in fact, the last one to leave the fleet was actually the one that was chartered 9228. So with that, this is farewell to 2 of the most iconic pieces of the CMBC fleet as we usher in newer, more accessible, and much cleaner batches of transit buses. Thank you for joining in on this 1000 subscriber special. This project was just a side project for posting videos, but in 2020, it was very apparent that there were no videos about Metro Vancouver Transit outside of posting ride videos. The goal of this channel is quite simple: to provide viewers with quality editorial content revolving around transit in Metro Vancouver. For starters, go watch some of the top editorial airline YouTubers, such as Simply Flying, Alex Proglovsky, and DJ's Aviation to get a feel of the style that this channel is trying to achieve. Thanks to each and every one of you, this shows that there is a need for this type of explainer content. Now, I will admit that the content here in Vancouver is quite limited, and that is why I have an even bigger project focused on an entire country in the works. As it turns out now, it's becoming more likely for filming to take place in September, so please keep an eye out for that. In any case, here's to 1000 subscribers and the next few thousand here on out.